Come on, people. Let's weave a tapestry and strengthen the connections that we share as Dominicans. Mun Dominic. Good morning. Another Saturday, another program. How are you? Connected to the Dots family, CTD family. Right on time today. No time to waste, right? I greet you from the lovely nature isle of Dominica. My house is located on Victoria Street, and I am operating from the Ted Daily studio. Our guest is in the Felix Henderson studio. Imagine that, eh? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have the laddie white today, eh? It is an absolute pleasure to welcome you to another Connected the Dots program on DBS Radio. Last week was, wow, massive. And today, we are stirring the pot with part 2. A bouillon. Part 2 with Dominican Empress Jael. What the story she told last week. I tell you, first time I get so many requests for an immediate part 2. And when I say immediate, you know, sometimes we have a guest and we have part 2 and we'll ask them to come back, yes. But most times, probably a month, you know, back or 3 months down the line, something like that. Hey, babe, look at what is happening today. Let me see where Nigel Francis is. I think he's in his studio, you know. Let me find out. I'm not throwing any stones this morning. I'm being very polite. Knock, 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 knock. Nigel, how are you?
Good morning. How are you, my dear?
I'm fine. How are you doing, Nigel? Come on, bagay kamashe.
Well, I was running around, so I was like, man, I know she have to have the energy this morning to make it up for me, so I'm good to go now.
All right, that's nice. Well, you have to be good to go, yeah, because we should, have a very interesting program today. Nice vibes, nice connection. So let's see how it goes, Nigel. Let's see how it goes.
We do. Looking forward to part 2 and, the life 2 and life 3 and what's been happening and all the rest of it. So
definitely.
We're looking forward to that. Definitely so,
Yes, definitely.
How your week has been?
Interesting week with Nigel, but I tell you what, this week it started very interesting. So, very, very interesting week. But it calmed down somewhat.
Okay.
It calmed down somewhat. Yeah.
Well, it's good to do that now and then,
Yeah, man.
Breathe and take a deep one and move on, kind of thing,
Sure.
Yes. You didn't wake up with a song in your head this morning.
No. Well, yes. To a certain extent, I woke up with that song from Sparrow, Gunugu, because I played it as soon as I came on. I just played it, so it's not there again. At least I did something about it. Instead of just talking to you about it, I played the song. So I'm free now. I'm absorbed of all of this. Good. Yes, I'm free. Well, Nigel, so we're going straight to the guest, because we want everything. But quickly, Nigel, can you name 10 mangoes, varieties of mangoes in Dominic? That's all, Nigel, that's simple. Mango. Not even communities and things like that, we're starting for later.
Mango long.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Why whenever our guest can help us, because I'm going to put her on too before we officially welcome her, because I know she like mangoes, so she can just come in.
Barb. Yes, mango, barb, mango.
Okay, let's start again. You said mango long.
Mango long. I think there's one they call it mango barb, Yes.
Mango barb, yes. There's grafted mango, the Julie mango.
And grafted mango, of course.
Mango bitter skin. Mango cheese, is that? That's something like mango cheese.
Who's that one they calling you look at me now. Help me out.
Mango.
Alvin Thomas, help me out, and anybody else in the book, help me.
Look, Jael saying something there. Say it again, Jael. Mango mule.
Mango mandwe.
Hey, Papa.
Mango warm.
Story open.
Mango belly full.
Hey, Papa.
Oh, thank you, Alvin. Liquor, mango.
Oh yes, mango liquor. Mango shewi. I remember mango shewi. Very sweet. Very, very sweet.
I need another one.
Belly full.
Mango belly full. Madwe. Yes.
Mule.
I finish.
Mule. I've never heard of mule.
Mango mule.
Interesting.
Mango
won. Okay. Mango was too.
Yes.
Mango
Okay.
was.
Younger the rosy one too. No.
Well, you call all of them when they write, they say rosy mango.
Okay,
Mango
okay, okay.
long.
Thank
Did you
He
you.
say
said that.
mango
He
bab?
said,
Yes, mango long,
Yeah.
mango cocoa beef,
Oh
yeah,
mango
yes.
mango
la
beef.
ame,
Oui, papa.
mango sherry. Oh, belly full.
We said
Yes,
that.
yes,
Yes, we
belly
said that.
full.
We said that.
Thank you, Winnie. Always said that.
What
Cocoa
again?
beef, emoji.
Mango cocoa beef.
Cocoa beef. But seriously though, where they get those names for this mango,
I
man?
can understand that. Eh? Oh, boy.
Vegas.
Because interesting. Interesting.
So we had
Well,
our 10 mangoes.
but we had more than 10, so
We had
we
more
did
than
very
10
well. Yeah,
mangoes.
we did
Yes,
very, very,
yes,
very,
yes. That's
very
to show
well.
you the variety we
What's
have
your
out
favorite
there,
mango, though, Nigel? What's your favorite one for you?
I like grafted mango, though, to be honest
Yeah,
with
that's
you.
my
To me,
favorite, and then
that's my
Bab.
favorite. And I don't mind eating a
Madwe.
mango long now and then.
Okay.
And
JL
then
said
followed
mad way for her.
All the way.
by mango liquor. But yeah, grafted is it for me.
Mhm.
Yes.
But we had mango in my days. We also had mango worms because we would just eat worms. So. Wee boy, what do you say that?
Mango ve. Mango ve.
Mango there, yeah. But seriously, Nigel, do you remember when you had a
Very-
grafted mango back in the day at school, and you
But
put a
of
little hole
course.
in this? But before you did that, you had to math
Soften
treat. We
it.
used to call it. You had to like squeeze it until it gets soft, and you put a little hole. And everybody has to get a gob. You remember those days?
A guab.
Man, yeah.
Oh, I remember he used to have as a guab. I wonder if people that still give a guab in your mango. We were so greedy them days there.
Nah, but who
But he used
wants
to
a
have a
guap from a
guab,
mango now in
yes.
the Niger? Nah, latte
I only
clear
giving you
yourself. First to have a
I only
guap in
giving you one guab. One
yeah.
guab alone you can get.
Good at those days, but you know this
And you know when you get the guab, you're taking a big guab because one guab alone you can
yes,
get.
yes, yes,
Little
and then
guab, man.
somebody else has to continue, so it has to go round and
But
round and round. Oh
yes,
my
but so as we
goodness!
say one guab, does it mean that the Creole for bite is guab? Or we just used to say one guab? Because a bite
For
yes to
sure, you
take,
know,
right?
interesting where that word "guab" came
So where the
from,
word guab
because
come
bite
from?
is what? No, bite is but
More day.
more day.
Oh,
More
there, yeah. So how
Yes,
you end up with
papa.
guab?
Guab, give me a guab.
And it's a
But
guab
then
is
that's
a
Dominica
blighted
for you,
market.
eh? I mean, when you look at the nuances of whole local dialect, oh my goodness, we say some things. I tell you, we are the
I wonder
best.
how we come up with guab.
Guab.
It's not
Guab. Build your
necessarily
coffee with.
Creole. It's not necessarily Creole. We don't necessarily translate. What we do is we have our own little
Yeah,
dialect and our own
yeah.
little terms.
Yeah,
So
man.
you
Give
just
me
say
a
whatever.
guab.
You know, give me a guab.
Yes. Yeah. And you know we have some interesting words. So if I
Oh,
say I'll give you a cool poe
Yes.
or
A
a
cool
yes.
thump.
boy. A thump.
Oh, yeah.
A cool
But
poet.
que voltige o. Ukabawa say what we go to. If we have to go on with this, I tell you, we are the best. No one can test. So Nigel, yeah. Let's start our discussion then. Oh, but you have the prayer. You have the prayer close by, Nigel. So yes. So let me say hello to all our Facebook friends, all of you on Facebook and looking at us on YouTube as well, because a lot of times people on YouTube, I get messages after the program and they say, you always call the Facebook people and you're not calling those on the tube. Okay, so all the people on the tube and the book, good morning, Snapper and Alvin and Schultz Joe, you know, and the regulars, Jacinta, Nori, you know, when you start to call names, people will say, but you're leaving me out, man. Rosalind, good morning. We should have you on soon as well to tell your story. Yes, Nigel, we ready? What is Nigel?
Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, we're coming your way. So get ready, Stanley. So pray for connect. Heavenly Father, creator of mankind and the universe, we thank thee for the gift of life today and all the blessings you continue to bestow upon us and your children. We seek your presence and intervention throughout this program, and we ask that you keep us connected always. We also pray for the success of the program, its coordinators, listeners, that they may find purpose and enjoy what we share. Bless our radio station and the nation, and may we grow to love and unite with each other, irrespective of our differences. All this we ask in your name, now and forever. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so Nigel,
Blessed.
how do we begin?
Blessed.
How do we? I'm sure
Blessed.
you went over the live. Or you look at it after, and you saw a lot of messages, Nigel. A lot of messages. But if you think that was a lot of
Lots.
messages, my phone, WhatsApp messages in particular. Wow, wow.
Lots
Yeah,
of messages, and we thank Jael for joining us for a second, for part
sure,
two.
sure.
We appreciate her making time and being here with us, so we can continue her story, continue her journey. You know, so I mean, we've already found out, where she from, Vikas, and went to the primary schools, and of course, the high school, and Portsmouth Secondary, and how she used to bomber ride. from Portsmouth to Vegas and all the rest of it. And she was a little bit of a tomboy because, her dad wanted to make sure they could do all the things that, men supposedly did.
Yeah, so she
So
could
we
change
found out about
tires
that.
at a very early
Yes,
age.
change tires at a very
She was an
early age.
electrician to a certain extent as
He
well.
was,
Yeah,
yes, definitely so, and a wonderful dad was the jack of all trades and
yeah.
master of plenty. So, it was a wonderful journey. And
And
then, of
then we
course, we
got a little
found out,
emotional. She got a little emotional, and it touched
yes,
us as well. And then we came
it
back
did, it
and
did.
laughed. Boy, I tell you, I just love this. I just
It
love
did,
this.
it did, it did, it did.
Yeah.
It touched us a little. I mean. So, and then of course we found out she became a rebel, or the rebel in. There's a song called "The Rebel in Me." I said,
But of
"Oh my God,
course, that's one
rebel
of my
in
favorite
me,
songs.
they bring the rebel
Yeah, of
in me."
course.
Right. So yes, so the rebel in
Jimmy
her came
Cliff.
out,
Yeah.
and she was thankful for that because it prepared her for her journey in Canada. And of course, after that, she went to Canada. She started out in Montreal, and she was like, "No, that's not for me because of whatever, if her grandfather." And she experienced racism there. And so, summarize well.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay, all
I
right.
also
So then
remember
she
she
moved.
said she painted her hair red. She dyed her
She
hair in
painted
red.
her hair red.
I like that part though.
Yes, she painted
Yeah.
her hair red, and
Yeah.
then she moved from Montreal. She was, that's not for me. She went with her aunt that she called aunt. Of course, she went to her aunt in where she go after that now? Don't tell
Toronto.
me no jail. Toronto. She went to Toronto, and it's there she started to move on. From Toronto, of course, she worked in department stores, and she loved her manager, and they loved her.
Yeah.
They hired her right away. She was great with customer service, and there she started to branch out. And then she moved on to England, and for a little bit worked on the cruise ship, and that's where we stopped the journey. So of course,
Yeah.
we're going to start
Nigeria too.
continuing. Jael, how did I do in your journey?
You did fairly well. You did. Good morning to
Oh,
you. Good morning to you, Nigel. Good morning to you, Ivona, and to all your listeners, those on Radio Land and those on social media.
Sure. All right. So
yes.
Nigel, let's just call out some of the names we have already on Facebook. Did you do
Yes,
that?
why should we try to? Because
Yes.
the first thing they tell me, we're not seeing
Yeah.
her. We're not seeing her.
They're not seeing her?
No. So, hey, good morning to you, Carl Kofi
Hi.
James. Greetings and blessings.
Oh, my goodness.
Maureen and George, good morning. Alvin Thomas was there very, very early. Good morning to you. Since the last time we gave me the attention, he early those days, Albert Greenaway, good morning to you as well. Talithia Charles, good morning. Rosalind Severin McLean, who's going to be our guest soon. Good morning to you. Lenixia Joseph, good morning. You're in the house. Who else? Jules is there. Liz, good morning to you. Stanley, I said good morning to you already.
We passing Alvin Street.
Alvin, yes.
But I said his
yes.
name.
Don't worry, Alvin, I get the SMA guest soon. Winnie Green, good morning to you. Was telling us all about the mangoes. Simeon George, good morning. Edwina London in Texas, good morning to you. So the book is running.
Shara
So
George
Derek
is saying that
Martin
she's
Roy,
rich.
Yes. And let's see. Darius Polidor, good morning. Hey, Maxine, good morning to you. Good morning to Sandra Norris. Let's see. We're taking the book and then
Sherry and Blaise, Jennifer Coffey,
Joan Coffey Benjamin, good morning.
Too numerous to mention.
Too numerous to mention.
Oh boy. Yeah. So all right. So welcome, Jael. I mean, it's really a pleasure to have you on again. And what you said last week inspired many people. And
I got a lot of messages.
Yes,
I got a lot of messages. I got a lot of messages. I've never gotten so many messages in my life, all at once.
Okay.
Actually, during Hurricane Maria, I got a lot of messages.
Yeah. All right. So Nigel, how do we begin? You have the first knock.
Yes, I was trying to run onto the DB. I was trying to run on the YouTube so people don't say.
Okay. Well, that's good, Nigel. That's good.
So let's see who's saying on the YouTube. A couple people are saying good morning to you, of course. Elizabeth Thomas, good morning to you. Saying should eat a mango now. Glenn Muller, good morning to you. Who are the other people there? Let me see if I can see some more on there very quickly. Good morning to you, Jane. You just have Jane, some people just put a name, so good morning to you, Jane. And good morning to all the others on YouTube.
Right,
In fact, I have to go back through all the others
Yes,
again.
all the others,
And
yes.
then, of course, we run back to the Facebook page. So
Yes.
good morning to everybody. Jael, it's good to have you part 2 and to find out more about your journey. When we last stopped last week, you were telling us of your little stint on the cruise ship, right? And the fact that you could not continue for 2 main reasons. One, you started a little bit of water, drinking water, and then
Thoracic lubrication. For whatever better
but there
term.
was a reason for it, though. It wasn't just a matter of you
No,
deciding
no,
to
it
drink.
wasn't just because I wanted to be an alcoholic. No, no.
No, there was a reason for it. Remind us of what that, because you were doing. I mean, it was strenuous 12-hour shifts, right?
Yes, yes. So the we would work from 8 in the, well, the spa would open at 8, 8 in the morning till like 8 p.m. And then you had to clean up. So you would leave there like sometimes at 10:30, thereabout. And something I want to say about working in the spa, like I want to throw a little shade for the cruise ships. They do this thing when they get to port, where they give everybody on the cruise ship gets half off the spa, and it encourages them to not get off the boat. So just want to they need to stop this and let people get off the boats. This is just things that we need to know as
Yes.
Dominicans, because we put our heart and soul into promoting tourism, and the cruise ships don't really care about us. They don't.
Almost everything is there, on the cruise
Well,
ships.
everything is there.
Yeah,
And a lot of things go half off on port days.
Yeah.
So 50% off on port days. A lot of times, majority of the ships do that, where they do 50% off, and it's in an effort to keep people on the boat and so that they don't get off.
Yeah.
And the way that we as small islanders we make money is through the fact that they come off. I have a lot more to say about that, but that's not that show.
Okay.
That is not the type of show. But yeah, so I did work. I did do this, and I liked it. I liked it. I actually, one of the things that I loved about working on the ship was that you got to keep a lot of your tips. You made a lot of tips, and your money would stay. And I didn't do it for long. It wasn't long. It was really short lived. But you got to keep a lot of your tips, and you could make money, man. So people that work on the ships can make money, but it's a lot of hard work. It's travail week. Travail week, no joke. It's not easy.
And of course, so and then from the cruise, so once you moved off from the cruise ship,
So I went back to training in England, and I didn't stay because of my my alkaline levels, and my iron levels were very low. So they put me on liquid iron, and it was just becoming a nuisance. So I spoke to
Why? It was making you sick? There was side effects?
No, it wasn't making me sick. It was gonna be because when you go on training, all the cost is on you, right? So it became just a costly venture, and it was exhausting. And I remember, calling my aunt and saying, my aunt that lives in England, and saying to her, I'm sick of this, I want to go, I want to leave, because every other day they tested me, because in order to get back on the ship, they would have to do that. And that's when I decided that it was not working out for me. I went back to another aunt, not the actual aunt that I called, but another aunt who was my aunt by marriage. And I went back to her house, and I stayed there for about 2 months. And then my mom called me, and obviously I stayed in touch with my mom and my family back home. And that's when she said to me that she didn't feel like she had another full year left in her, so that I should come back to Dominica. And I had everything already packed up in my storage in Canada. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to Dominica, but I had no money. So my sister had to help me. My younger sister actually paid my ticket from England to Miami, and Miami to, I think, Barbados, and Barbados to Dominica. Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. So you came back to Dominica. I mean, in a sense, to be there for your mom, and then you found employment. Of course, you told us a little bit about BBS telling which was back then. And then you found employment, and you were on Q95 for a bit.
Yes, yes. So
What was the experience? Yes, go
I
ahead.
was working on Q95 and I was also working at a spa. So I also worked at the Glam. So I was working at them together. Like probably I was at the time the only person that had two jobs in Dominica because I was accustomed to having like multiple jobs coming from Canada, right? And for me, I always believe in having multiple streams of income because when one thing fails, you need to have a backup plan. I always have a backup plan, right? Always and forever, I'll always have a backup plan. So I started working at the Glam, and she wanted me to help her with training because, again, I did medical aesthetics, so I knew all about waxing, I knew about laser hair removal, electrolysis, all of these things, facials. I knew all about the different types of facials and massages, manicures, pedicures. Gel nails were just starting to come into Dominica at the time. People were starting to do the gel polish and stuff. So I'd been there, done that. So she asked me to come on board and kind of help her out. It was more or less, we had a very nice arrangement. That's Lillian Piper. And she was really the first woman in Dominica that, gave me a shot, like, she was just like, wow, I think she was blown away by me and all of the things that I could do. Plus because of my heavy background in skincare and cosmetics, I knew how to retail cosmetics.
And you had a good personality, and you still have.
It was like a package. So when people would leave the location, they would probably leave most times, many times they would leave with getting their skincare regime done, but also leaving with a product, whether it is a lipstick, whether it is a moisturizer or whatever, and I worked with both her and Q95. So I did Q95 Monday to Friday, and Saturdays I did Lillian. I worked at every Saturday. I worked at the Glam. And then when she opened up in Portsmouth, I would do Sundays as well. So I worked 7 days a week.
Whoa, a workhorse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. What was the experience like on Q?
I
Working radio.
I absolutely loved working on radio. I think very early o'clock.
But you said loved, Jael.
Yeah, I mean I won't do it anymore in Dominica. It can't. I'm not making money. I just finished telling you I'm all about my money. I'm all about my money. So I don't think I'd ever go back into radio on that level. But one of the things that I loved was that they allowed me, I think a very early o'clock, Mr. Gregoire Sheridan Gregoire, he saw my potential. He saw I was a hustler. And I got involved in sales. I got involved in coordinating Q Talent Search. So it was like, I wasn't even supposed to be on radio. I don't even think I was supposed to be on radio. And it just happened. And I remember one morning Matt brought me on and it just became a thing. And people wanted to know what I looked like. And, people, at that time we didn't have like video like how we all.
And at that time your hair was not red, right?
No, my hair was, I had a bob. I had a bob. And everybody wanted to know what I looked like. And I remember him describing, and listen, I used to dress when I worked on radio. Like I had my fishnet stockings and I believed like it was like a show, you come in, you come in to do a show. So I came dressed for the occasion. And I loved it. I loved the opportunity. I loved the fact that Mr. Gregor would always like listen to my ideas, and implement them. And Q95 became very popular. When I was on radio, Q95 was the most popular radio station, hands down. I know everybody else can talk and say theirs was.
What times were you on?
Q90, we did Q Talent Search, and that was the morning time. So from 10 to 11, everybody was tuned in because they wanted to hear the singers, they wanted to get them to win, and then I started getting vouchers for people to win, getting a lot of the businesses involved, and we decided to make it a show. And
how long though did you stay in radio, and then where did you move to next?
so I stayed on Q95 for about 4 years, I believe. So 4 years, and then I left radio altogether. So the plan was to not continue radio. Again, I was always chasing my paper, and I always had entrepreneur skills, and I wanted to do my own thing. A huge part of it was that a huge part of why I left is I was paying a lot of income tax. Like, I'm not gonna lie, because I was making money. I was paying a lot of income tax. I was doing sales, and it just became like, hey, why don't you just hire my business? I'll pay VAT instead of income tax. VAT is less than income tax. You have
15%
to.
VAT, yeah.
So and that wasn't working out. So I left, and I left with no intentions of going back into radio. But during my radio stint, my mom died, my dad died. Like my both parents died in the same year.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
So just a matter of a few months, or
my mom died a year and 2 days after I came back to Dominica. And my dad died 9 months later. So when that happened, the thing, well, when my mom died, I was like, should I go back to Canada? Like why am I staying here? Because initially I came down because of her. But then I met Jovian. Well, I met Jovian before my mom died. And we had moved in together the month before my mom passed away. And a month later, I found out that I was pregnant with my first child. So I was like, I cannot leave. First of all, I never wanted to have kids, right? And that was public knowledge that it was never something that I wanted. And when Jovian expressed, like how happy he was, I was like, yo, like, we're really doing this? and I decided, okay, well, I'll stick around. I'll stick around and see how things go, or how things go with between the two of us. And it was, I mean, Jovian we've been together since then, and he's been a very strong support system in terms of like pursuing anything that I had wanted to pursue. So when I decided that after my dad died and I stayed with the station a little bit longer, that I wanted to leave radio, he was like, whatever you want to do. Like, if you think it's going to work, I will support you 150%. Right? And I left because at the time, Lillian had opened Glam Portsmouth. But she was thinking it was too much for her. It had become too much for her. So I said to her, why don't I take over the franchise for you? And I decided to take over Glam Portsmouth, for a few reasons. One, I felt I connected very well with students compared to how the locals connected with them. Again, because of my experience in spa, my experience in cosmetics, and the fact that people still considered me a foreigner, although I'm very Dominican. So I connected very well with them, and a lot during the time of me working part-time with her, I would put on a lot of little different activities, and they would just gravitate towards it. So it was like, oh, they really like this? Okay, we got to do it. And I don't know if we could talk about those activities, but they would gravitate towards it. So I had like things like passion parties, and that is when I started discovering my love for doing events, like doing like mini events and stuff. So my passion parties were a hit. And the students would come in drones. and Shara is laughing.
that's the thing, eh?
They loved it. They loved my passion parties and stuff. As a matter of fact, one semester, I didn't have space for people, because it was like you had to kind of like come in and book for you to come to the passion party, and those were a thing. And when I took over, those became a thing that I would do regularly. I did them when they had their end of semester, so going up to the end of the semester, or I would do it sometimes at the beginning, and word would spread around campus that Jael is the person. You can check if you want all your passion merch. and it became a thing. So I enjoyed doing the spas in Portsmouth. I loved it. I loved being in, because I'm from the north and I know a lot of people in Portsmouth. I absolutely loved spending time in Portsmouth, and at one point in time I didn't even want to move back to Roseau. I wanted to stick around in Portsmouth.
So you were hardly coming down to Roseau because everything was there for you at that time? Or?
Well, for the first 2 months, I didn't come. I commuted every single day, and then right around March, thereabout, the owners of Vibes Radio reached out to me, and they were like, we heard that you're really good at sales. We heard that you're good at programming, and we want you to come on board. And I was like, yo, you have to make it juicy for me. Like, I'm not coming anywhere if it ain't juicy. It has to, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So we came to an agreement, and I started working with them in April. So I did both. So I would do the weekdays. So I did weekdays with them, and then the weekends and evenings. Actually, I would leave Roseau at 2 o'clock and head down to Portsmouth every day, and come back up. So that was my schedule, and I mean I got tired, but I felt like I was young, and I was still vibrant enough, and I was like, what, I can do them both, and it was fun.
What about Jael in terms of the hustle, man? Because there seems to be a lot of hustle with Jael. What is it about the hustle that gets you going like that?
I don't know. My father told us to row our own boat. So, bro, I'm not depending on nobody for nothing. And I always, I always believe in like learning a lot of things. Like anything anybody would teach me, like I'm like a sponge. I will absorb it all, and I could probably...
And even if it's something that's normally considered a man's job.
That have nothing to do with me. Man's job, that have nothing to do with me. I will just absorb it, and like very early o'clock, I learned how to do radio ads. Like very early in my early o'clock. I remember showing at the time, going on and showing me like 1-2 little things, but he himself not being able to do like just how to cut, how to, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna find a way to do this. And I started going on like YouTube, and at the time YouTube wasn't as popping as it is now, where you could find every single thing, so you had to search a little bit harder. But then I found some videos on how to use Adobe Audition, and I just started learning it, and I started learning my about my voice range, so it's just always something that has been very natural to me, that I want, if I'm learning something, I want to learn it in its entirety. One, so I can do it to my to the best of my ability, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I work very hard at learning it. And I always feel to myself, if I'm learning something, how is it gonna make me make money? So I'm gonna learn to do this, but there needs to be an ROI. Right? What are the ROIs on this? Right? What is the return on the investment? Invest in my time, sometimes invest in my money into learning this, right? And I would always try and flip it. So like even with the ads thing, I started reaching out to businesses, and sending them my little flyers so they knew I was doing ads, So I always have, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
By the way, Clever Joseph is saying on the live, Jay, I love you just because I knew you from a child going to preschool in Posse on your own, so you brave from a very early age and you stayed strong. That's nice. Clever knows me long, and I know Clever longer too. Let me tell you, Clever, my mom was very close with Clever from a medical perspective, as well as her husband is also related to my dad. So I've known her and her children, all my life. So big up to you, Clever. Wow.
So Portsmouth on the glam. So you were doing glam Portsmouth, and you were also doing Vibes Radio, hustling back and forth from Portsmouth to Roseau every day.
And you were big on the ROI.
I was big on the ROI. I had to.
That is always there.
It had to be there.
Everything.
It had to, and I would calculate everything. Like I used to write it down on a book, how much I spend, how much I'm making. Like I was always about that.
So you a girl
that
would
money.
claim, so you would claim your overtime if you worked overtime as well.
Hell yeah! Listen, I remember, Q Talent Search, when we were doing Q Talent Search became like almost like a hobby, right? It was something that you did for, when you work at a radio station, if a radio station has programs, you have to. And I remember once putting Mr. Gregor down and say, Garçon, we cannot keep doing this free of charge. Like, after hours, we doing shows and whatever. And I put down, how much sponsors we need to get, how much we can pay people. And I started making sure everybody got paid, because at the end of the day, it was just like, yes, I get that you're working for a radio station, but you're working outside of your working time, right? So when is the return on my investment? This is my time. My time is my investment.
Maxine
right?
and Esprit saying, got to pay the bills.
Hello, right? So I was just like, you know what? You need to start paying us, and I started like advocating for pay for every single person that was working in Q Talent Search. I started advocating for them to get a pay, for the judges to get a stipend, like, because I just felt like you can't just, I felt to some extent like it's almost like you're using people, although that was not the case. But nobody wants to feel like they're being used, know. So
that was radio for you. So you stayed at the other radio station how many years at Vibes?
I stayed with Vibes Radio until, well, I'm still technically connected with Vibes Radio, but I stayed, when I say on radio until July before Maria.
Okay.
So I found out I was pregnant with my second. So right after I did the second 767 Girls Rock, actually right around the time I was doing 767 Girls Rock, I found out I was pregnant with my second.
You were in Dominica for Hurricane Maria?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
What was the experience?
I was one of the only people that had internet served data like throughout. So people were messaging me.
You worked at a magic jail?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. So people were messaging me and trying to find their families, and I had a lot of people messaging me because I would go live, like when I went to the river, I would go live, and I was pregnant. I was like 6 months pregnant at the time. I would go live and stuff. I only spent like 5 days in Dominica because initially.
But the plan was to travel.
Yeah,
to
have my, because I had my both kids overseas, right? And I had gone up to do my medicals months before, and I'd bought a return ticket.
Okay.
So I had bought a ticket so that I would come back. So the plan was to go back in October. So I already had all of that, and it just made sense to kind of just head out. But I remember it being like, I remember the mosquitoes, because like they were just singing cousin, cousin, cousin. Oh my God, like they were driving me nuts. And the heat, I remember it being so hot. First of all, being pregnant and not having a fan.
Double trouble.
Those people that get pregnant during my area, zonifos, avec courage. Because let me tell you, like that heat that you have when you're pregnant, a heat meaning like you're feeling hot and not having a fan. I was miserable. The 5 days felt like 5 months. I was just so miserable, and I couldn't wait to get out. And again, my sister came to the rescue because she paid for all our tickets to get out. Because at the time, machines were not, the ATMs were not working and stuff. The banking system in Dominica was down, and I got out as fast as I could say fast cash. I was out, and I was out, and I was happy that I got out, because I don't know, I saw a lot of things during my short time, the looting and all of that, and I was one of those. I don't know, probably because of how we were raised. We were raised that to know that if you have in abundance, you share. That's how we were raised. My father practiced it when he would go out to sea.
Your father, the late Aurelius Joseph.
Or the late Aurelius Joseph. He did it, where he would give people fish, and, he'd give people always. My father used to leave Amavecas, go and bring stuff for his mother in Amber, then go by Tangerville in Pie. And we were just always raised to, if you have a lot to give. And what I saw going on during the looting and all of that, I was just like, boy, let me get the hell out. I feel like if I ever have to experience a hurricane again in Dominica, I'm going to the countryside. I'm not staying in Roseau.
By the way, who's Shelly?
Shelly's me.
Because I'm seeing Shelly has always been a go-getter, and I'm linking it to you, but I did not know that you were known as Shelly.
Yeah, so people who call me Shelly they've known me since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my mom called me. My mom nicknamed all of us because she was a nurse and she didn't want people to take our names. So she figured if she gave us a nickname, they would take the nickname and they would not actually take our real name. She was just that person.
Wow.
As you say name, I mean, Jael is like it's not a common name.
No, it's my middle name actually.
It's your middle name.
It's my middle name.
Ah,
it's my middle name.
Okay, but you've taken it up as the first name, of course.
Well, there's a story behind that, and that comes from
school.
going to school in Canada. There was somebody else with my name in my class, and she didn't have a middle name, and I did. So I was like, you know what? I'll use my middle name, and you can use. Yeah, and I kind of liked how Jael.
Yes, it's nice. You have a good middle name.
It just had a nice ring to it, and my St. Lucian friends would actually the ones that were like, just make them call you Jael, like you just dare, you know. And so we come to my St. Lucians. They were the ones that encouraged the Jael, and even when I started on radio, I used Shelly for a little bit, and it just didn't feel radio-like. You know, I wanted a name that had G.
Oh,
that's my word.
Pizzazz. Jael. It says something like yeah.
So I started using my middle name, which is Jael.
Okay. I never used my middle name. I never liked my middle name, so I say hats off to you.
There was always another reason too. I'm gonna give you like a secret.
Tell me.
Remember I always said I was gonna be famous, right? I always said from the time I was in high school, I always believed I was going to be famous. And my thing with fame is that everybody don't have to know your business. That if everybody knows your first name, they will know your business because they can search you up and whatever. But when it's just your middle name, they know. It's a little bit harder, especially when you're registered. You're mostly registered using your first name. So I love the fact that I have two names. I love the fact that I have two names. Yeah.
Okay, so you left after Hurricane Maria 5 days after. So how did you settle down and what did you move into now? What was that path that you created for yourself?
So I left with intent to return. I was never going to remain because at that time, I'm in love. My children's dad is in Dominica and he wants to be in Dominica. It's not like one of those, like you meet people and they're like, oh, bring me back states, bring me back foreign with you. It was never like that, right? So he always wanted to remain. He has his land here, and he wanted to just remain and grow in Dominica. So the intent was always to return, have my second and come back. But then I started monitoring things. So while I was when I left Dominica, I was also a brand ambassador for Astafans. And at that point, they terminated our contract. So that was me, Felix, a bunch of us. So they terminated our contract in December after Hurricane Maria.
You're referring to Felix Henderson.
Right, Felix Henderson and Miguel Abadi, all of us. And I remember it wasn't something that they needed. They didn't need our services. You had to be realistic about it. They didn't need our services because they were the number one merchant at the time, because a lot of the other merchants got looted. A lot of the supermarkets got looted, and they were one of the main ones. And they said to us, you know what, we don't need...
And that makes business sense.
Yeah. But we will resume with you guys, at a later date and whatever, which is understandable. I was already in Canada, and I was just thinking, again, how am I going to support myself and my kids if I am in a position where I'm outside of Dominica? A lot of Dominica didn't have power yet, because y'all got, the entire island got power almost 6 months later. So I was just thinking of how can I contribute to my country while being gone. And it was just not making, I was trying to get people to continue to donate. I have had a few organizations that I reached out in Canada that made some really considerable large amounts of donations to Dominica, like when I tell you large, like in the six figures. And but how again am I going to assist? And I decided that I was going to go back to school. So I had Jazz in December, that's my youngest, and I registered for school in January. So I said I'm gonna go back to school because if I go back to school, let's see how things go. But a huge part of me going back to, or a huge reason of me going back to school, I could do all of these things, Ivona, but people, Dominicans, I'll tell you straight off the cuff, Dominicans, especially the people in high positions, they believe that if you don't have a degree in it, that you cannot actually do it, right? And I experienced that a lot. I experienced a lot of times saying, hey, I could do this. And they're like, well, you don't go to school for that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go school for all what I can do so I can put my paper where my mouth is, right? So I applied to at the time it was Ryerson University, to do journalism. And I got in and I started doing journalism my journalism degree in the September that followed.
That's 2019?
That's 2018.
Okay, the same year.
Yeah. So 2018.
Oh, see, the Hurricane Maria was in 2017. Okay, yeah.
Right. So my baby was still a baby. He was like 9 months thereabout. And I was back in school. But even while I was back in school, I still maintained strong relations with Vibes Radio. So I handled a lot of their sales accounts. So all of their major sales accounts. So I was still on my hustle.
Yes, you just had to get the pay coming.
Hello! The money have to still be flowing, right? So I maintained doing this. And then I started, because at that time I had amassed, a considerable, I had just a little over 5,000 followers on Facebook. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing more social media stuff. So I started going to, like, my dentist I went to in Canada. I started talking to him about, let me manage your social media stuff for you. Like everywhere I went, I was like, let me, I was pushing my nose, and social media management in Canada and social media management in Dominica, say they defame on social media management. When I tell you, they literally just give you the assets. Like they have a graphic designer send you the stuff and you literally program it and whatever. In Dominica, you tend to have to take on everything. So you have to do all of the content as well as sharing of the content and scheduling of the content. So I started doing that while doing sales in Dominica still, and very actively doing sales while doing ads, because my son, I had started developing my oldest son's vocals for him to do ads, so he was doing radio ads as well. So
at that time he was
yes, the man had to make his money.
How old at that time?
Giovanni was about 4.
Wow.
He was about 4. Yeah. So he was doing ads. He did a few ads. He was doing Pizza Hut ads, KFC
even
ads.
at that age, yes, I did.
Right? And making his money and stuff. And I just started, I was still doing that because I had to be able to sustain myself. I didn't want to depend on Jovian exclusively because he was trying to get his business off the ground. I was also in a different country where the money is like double, right? So whatever you make in Dominica is double theirs. It's half of what you make. Right? So imagine converting like EC to Canadian when it's 2 to 1, right? So I was just doing my hustle and my university experience was crazy because, again, I'm an overachiever. So if I'm going to do something, it has to be great. I have to make it great. Which is why I say sometimes to people, I don't know why people don't want to work with me. Because anything I put my hands on, I want to make it great. That is the bottom line, right? Regardless of how we work together, we have to be number one, right? And that's how I am. I'm very competitive. My sisters and I were very competitive like that, right? And when I started university, I knew I wanted to do very well. And within a year of university, I realized that I could not do it very well if I didn't have more support. Like I needed more support. So then Jovian said to me, hey,
More support meaning what?
more
Financial
support
support?
in the sense of being able to get more time to study,
Okay.
because
All
I'm
right.
I'm navigating having kids. I had my both kids and everything, and it just became a task, and so I started going home more often. That's right around the time, I believe it was that year. It was 2019 was the year when I emceed when I came back to really MC for Choral Music Festival. And that's where I started coming back more often, because for me, I love Dominica. I love Dominica a lot. Like, I tell people all the time, I'm not here because I'm here by choice. Because in Canada, like, the money I can make in Canada is nothing compared to what I can make. And not just that, the networks I've formed in Canada, like the people that I mean, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you will understand. Like, people who follow me on Facebook, they see one side of me, right? But the LinkedIn side of me, you get to see the kinds of connections that I have, that I've made, over the years in Canada. And these are like people in like really big positions who will, at the drop of a ball, all I have to do is say I need a job, and they will hire me. You get what I'm saying? So it's not like I after I did my master's, I didn't even finish my master's, and I had a teaching job waiting. I didn't finish. Like, I started teaching on the 8th of September, and I finished my master's on the 10th of September.
Wow. You started
I
teaching
didn't
on the
finish.
8th.
I didn't finish. Right? And that is because a lot of people, again, I find a lot of foreigners take me more seriously than Dominicans, because they're just like my foreign counterparts and people that I network with. They're always like, "Oh my God, you're so good at this! Like, how can you be so good?" They're always so surprised, and I'm just like, "Well, you should come to Dominica. Like, there's a lot of us like that in Dominica, that we do so many different things. And it's because of how we're raised, and how we're so empowered we walk around entitled. Like, I've always felt entitled.
Yeah, and your upbringing, of course,
Exactly.
took you to where you are right now.
Exactly. So,
How long did you stay teaching, or was that short-lived? Or
oh,
you
I'm still teaching.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
you
still
okay.
teaching. I've not stopped. So my course is online now. So I teach at a university, and I mean, I'd have to be in Dominica. I could easily be in Canada, right? Again, I choose to be in Dominica, and I love Dominica. I've always wanted, I've always wanted Dominica to be put out there on the map. So every opportunity I have, I always speak about Dominica. If I get I've gotten on TV programs in Canada. I've made the paper a few times in Canada, and I always bring it back home. I always bring it back to where I come from, because essentially my foundation, that is where I got my start. That is where I became who everybody seemed to love. Is Dominica, right? And that's where my parents raised me, and I just have a really strong foundation and love for Dominica, and I always bring everything back to Dominica.
Nigel, what a story.
Jael,
I just love
it was
this.
man, that's a beautiful
I just
journey.
love her story.
Beautiful journey. And I'm hoping that it's inspiring others
Yeah.
who are either going
know it
through the
is.
journey,
I know
or
it
will
is.
one day have to walk through that path that you walked through, and they can look towards you as the inspiration.
Because sometimes people see you, they see your glory, but they do not know your story.
Most
and,
times,
and when they hear your
yes.
story, then they
Yeah.
they have a
Yeah.
different
Oh, and I guay
perception for
already.
you.
Yeah, I guay. Like. But one of the things I said, I like living paycheck to paycheck. I was like, I'm gonna break that pronto. Like, I've seen it in my family, I've seen my friends, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to live like that. I can't live paycheck to paycheck. And again, why I have multiple streams of income, because I feel if one doesn't work out, there's another one. And I've had relationships, or contracts with people, and it's no more. Like it ended for whatever reason. We decided to part ways, and I don't feel no way. I can still like meet them and hug them, and because I'm just like. My brother, like, you just open way for me to do another something because I'm always thinking ahead. I'm always thinking ahead. And I always say to people, the only time I would probably ever stop working is if I can't talk. Once I can talk, I will
How,
always.
how does J, how does J, oh, by the way, let me say good morning to Smokey and Fitzroy and
Oh
all those who
yes.
went down to for the funeral
Yesterday, yes.
of Terry
Terry,
Rose,
Terry, Roye.
who are in
Yes, my
Vegas right now, and
condolences.
Tebow and Penville, yes, for
Yes.
that funeral yesterday. So hey, morning to you, Smokey and Fitz and everybody else. Fitz, I sent you a message. Check your phone because you have to make a connection with someone in Dominica. But Jael, in terms of how do you as a woman, how have you been able to juggle the family responsibilities, family life, with all the hustles that you do?
I'm glad that you say as a woman because I don't believe it's a woman's duty, right? I believe that we are naturally nurturers, so obviously we're going to take on the responsibility of doing it, but that is not our duty. And thankfully, I have a very supportive partner who has taken on a lot more of the duties, right? Because it's a duty. It's not our responsibility. And most times we make women feel like as if we put them in a hole that we have to be barefoot and pregnant, cleaning the house, doing the this, doing the that. I mean, I do some of these things, and when I cannot do it, I pay somebody to do it if it's not done to my liking. But Jovian loves to cook. He loves to cook, and he's taken that on. He does the laundry.
So the support is
Right?
there.
The support is
And
there. Right?
a woman will always find a way to maneuver the overlap, between private life and work, and whatever comes away, we can do this.
Yeah, and I mean, and honest to God, he does it not because like he feels like, oh, he has to let me do this. He does it because he likes it. Because I always say to him, if you don't like it, we can pay somebody. Like there's nothing wrong in paying somebody to do it for you. But he likes it. He loves to cook. Joven takes pride and joy. He loves to cook. He loves to see us eat his food. And then he's the reason why I'm so pleasantly plump. Or one of the reasons. But he loves, and I love to eat my food on lives when he cooks and stuff. And I mean, it just works. So I don't see it as, okay, I as a mother I couldn't do this and do that. There are certain things that I wanted to accomplish before I got to 40. So I wanted to make sure I had a master's. I think I'm gonna go for the PhD. But I wanted to make sure. I was telling somebody why I want to go for the PhD is because there's more money in the PhD. I'm already in the system.
Something with you on money, right?
Listen, I'm already in the system and I know what I can make working part-time as a teacher. If I add 2 more days to that, I can just sit down and call it all day because you're literally teaching the same thing over and over again every year.
You love teaching, Jael?
I do. I enjoy. I feel like it's my way of giving back, like giving back to people and kind of using my own experiences to help students navigate the world to come or their world to come because and again, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see my students love me. My students love me. They all reach out to me. They tag me in their stuff when they get really good jobs because I'm always advocating for them. I do a lot of interest. I'm an interesting kind of instructor, so I teach things differently than what most because what I do is I use my own experience and see where there were gaps and what I could do to fill in those gaps so that these students don't have these gaps. Right? So there were gaps. Obviously, you see things. As a human being, you see things. Boy, I wish they had teach me this, or I wish they had done this for me, and whatever. So I try my best to fill in those gaps, and the students, they love it. And I mean, last year, 80% of my students got internships before the fall, which was ridiculously high. They had never experienced that before at that university, and they were just like, we want you to stay. We don't want you to go. So so I've stayed on. And again, though, a huge part of who I am, my father was a teacher, right? My youngest sister was a teacher. So it's like something that I've seen around me, being in Dominica as a Dominican, and seeing how teachers go over and beyond, for students in Dominica. Like, I mean, it doesn't always happen, but you have the one or two teachers who will really see something in a student and say, yes, I want to. And that doesn't really happen in the classroom when you hit North America. Everybody's on the same platform, right?
And when you reflect, though, what does that teach you about teachers, really? Because I remember when you were on last week, you gave us an example. I think there was a teacher who would write on your report book or something like this, like you talk too much.
Yes.
And then your father was called in, But what do you see when you look at the role of a teacher across the board?
Well, first of all, I feel school should be from 8 to 4. All schools should be from 8 to 4. That is one thing.
For 1 hour lunch break?
All schools, and give them a break. I feel like it should be from 8 to 4. I feel a lot more support should be given to teachers. So, like assistants, like they should have teaching assistants. Like all of the people that we have cleaning the roads and stuff, yes, I get that. But some of that money could go towards getting, because we have a very strong education system in Dominica. And a huge part of it has to do with parents are very competitive. They want their children to be the best. They want children to be on top, because a lot of times too, they're not just being competitive for competitive sake, but they're thinking of university and getting scholarships. And if you don't do well, you can't get a scholarship, right? So that brings in the competitiveness of a lot of parents, which trickles to the schools, which trickles to the teachers, right? Teachers want their classes to do good, to be on top of things, and all of these things. I feel though that a lot of the teachers are not given a lot of support here. There's a lot more support that could be given. And when I say support in terms of material, I know, like, I hate teachers asking to buy ink for printer. Like why do they have to ask parents? Why is that our responsibility? You get what I'm saying? So I feel like more should be invested in education and different, and the art form as well, where teachers are concerned. So it makes their life a lot easier. It makes it easier for them to do their work, and to grade when they have to grade. And that 8 to 1 thing, though, like I don't understand.
Wow.
But I don't understand that. I
But
really
a lot of schools, though,
people saying, oh, it's for them to grade or for them to. I don't understand.
But a lot
that.
of the secondary schools, well, I know a few of them for sure. They go until 3:00, and sometimes there are extra classes, so they take their break for lunch and they continue right after.
But a lot of them go till 1.
Well, yes, yeah.
and I don't understand.
Yes.
I don't understand that from a lot of angles, and I'm going to explain a lot the other angles that I don't understand it from. You have children going home at 1:00, and a lot of times parents don't have childcare, so they leave them at home, and that's when you get all those pedophiles.
But
that's
you're talking
when you
about
get
8 to 4 across the board, like from even
across the
primary?
board, across the board, from small to old, right? Like, I just feel like that is where a lot of people learn the most. A lot of students use school to escape from home, problems at home, all these different. And if you have sports, if they have arts, if they have all these different activities going on, we have a lot of success stories here in Dominica, but we can have so many more success stories, because everybody's not into academia. So what happens to the person that can draw and paint, right? What happens to them? They get left behind, right? They get left behind. They don't get the scholarships. They don't, and then we see them pull up on the street smoking, and we're wondering. But it's because the system was not structured to support them.
Interesting talk.
Right.
By the way, you need to get to know with Sandra Norris. She said, I have never met Jael, but I just
She follows
love
me.
her bubbly self.
She follows me.
Okay, so you know
she's
her.
one of my regulars, my
Okay.
gangs.
Okay. She just has never met you in person, but you all have a connection.
Yes.
So
I see a lot of my followers on the timeline right
Jael,
now.
you ever had any interest in theater, or you ever dabbled in this for
I
a
have.
short while?
I have. I played Madame Dubois in Giselle Toussaint's play Madame Dubois years ago.
Can you remember a line Madame Dubois would have said? in
Boy, I
that
can't
play?
remember. Jeez, I can't remember.
I know you had to articulate and bring it out.
I was supposed to be like this woman that I was supposed to be set in like the 50s. And I can't remember. Like I can't remember how. I can't remember a lot of things.
But
like,
you still have aspirations with that is concerned?
I do. I've had agents contact me. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I do.
I just see it in you. Nigel, you see it right as someone who's very much involved in theater.
Oh yes. I see her as performing in one of my plays, the lead.
Can see Jael getting it down there. Eh? Wow.
But Jael, a couple of things. Because we want to make cover as much as we can. Again, with time going by.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? And of course, I want to talk a little bit about your experience on the Caribbean Music Awards and what that was like for you as well. But quickly before we go to that, do you go back to visit Vegas? Do you feel that you have a sense of wanting to help because of what nurtured you to become?
It's an interesting question because I ran into some folks from the NCCU from Vegas a couple days ago, and they were like, you don't come up at all. I don't go to Vegas.
Oh, yeah?
Like I just don't go to Vegas.
Don't you miss
I
it?
don't go to Vegas. I have
That's
nothing left in
fact.
Vegas. Like my parents' home. Like and I'm not even interested in. Like,
Are there too many sad memories if you go there? Because
I don't even think that's it. I just feel like Vegas has become different over the years. And they're probably going to like lambaste me, but I don't care. But they're just not very nice people like they used to be.
Okay. But you grew up there as a child. I mean, Vegas really nurtured you.
But you see how I've evolved.
Well, yes,
and
obviously.
I've moved on.
So
I'm not attached to anything or anyone. Right? I'm not attached to anything or anyone. And as a result of when I move on, it's okay. Like I look at it as a time in my life. I'm going to take it with me, but I don't have to take everybody with me. I can take the moments with me, but I don't have to take everybody with me. Everybody cannot come on my journey. Some people gonna get left behind. And unfortunately, it's sad, but I have left Vegas people behind.
Right.
I've left Vegas people behind, not because I hate Vegas people or anything.
A lot of them are rooting for you on the live.
They are. Oh my God! But they will. They will because I always say I'm from Vegas. And that is where I got my foundation. But things have changed, and if things change, are you going to embrace the bad stuff that you don't really like? No. Right? They're not as like my immediate neighbors are probably still the people that I'll ride or die for, like Father Shapley's and these people, Auntie Vernice and very few people that I would still say, you see Shara them on the live and stuff that I can say, hey, like these people are still home people because we stay in touch and but then people have changed so much and people have become so greedy and so like I just hate that kind of stuff. I don't like greedy people.
In terms of the kids though, Jael, don't you think that there are probably 2 or 3 or 4 Jaels in Vegas?
Probably. Reach out to me. I will mentor them from a distance.
Waiting for this Jael to take.
I'll mentor them from a distance.
Or you can help set up a foundation or do something
in the process
in the community.
In the process.
It's a vibrant community still.
That was where I grew up. I mean, where I would probably, if I had to move back to the north, I'd probably move to Penville.
Penville, okay.
I'd probably move to Penville because, and I think a huge part of it has to be the amount of respect that they have for my parents still to this day. Like Penville people will meet me. I met a lady outside of Whitchurch. She travels every day. She used to be a huckster, and I remember, she used to pass at home a lot, and my mom loved her. And I ran into her just a few days ago, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" And she's outside of Whitchurch with her cocoa, and she says, she stopped huckstering because after Irma and after Maria, produce wasn't as regular, so she stopped and whatever. And she was talking and tears was like filling up her eyes, and she was just saying, talking about my parents, and stuff. And I meet a lot of Penville people, and the way they speak about my parents is like, especially my father, is like, oh my God, like I could be around these people, because it feels more like home to me. You get what I'm saying? It feels more like even there she is selling outside of with church. She still want to give me, and I'm like, no, my lady, like, no, it's just, I don't know. And I don't have anything against Vegas people per se. Like, I don't. It's just they've changed, and I've changed, and change is okay if it benefits the grand scheme of things, right? And if it's not helping, they themselves say, if your right hand offend you, cut it off, right? If you go back to biblical terms, so it's not something I'm going to invest my energies into. Like I feel like if you're going to change, you have to change because you want to change.
As we speak about Vekas and community, what comes to mind, and we did not have much time to talk about it last week, this documentary that you produced on the Kalinago territory. Obviously, you had to do a lot of work to come up with a piece like this. Tell us what it was like for you.
Oh my God. Like, as a child, we used to go to Kalinago territory a lot. Because my mom used to do her own little form of missionary work, taking our clothes, and what didn't fit us anymore, that was in good condition, and packaging it. She did stuff with the church in terms of bringing they would do bags of rice and bags of red beans, and and we would go there and we would see people lining up, and my sister, I was talking to my younger sister, and she was like crying the other day, because when she watched my documentary, she's like, I'm so glad that you showed like a good side, like you showed an elevated side of, because we saw the bad side when we were young. Right, we saw the poverty. I remember like seeing little children running away from you, and when they would see your vehicle approaching because they were scared of you, and all of these. And we have in our minds as Dominicans that they're these people, but they're our first people, our native people, and we have to say a lot of the things that we know, a lot of the reasons why we're able to bounce back is because of how they protected Dominica. Right? You think if we had slavery, like how Haiti had slavery, our soil would be like how it is today? No, it's because the Kalinago people protected our island. We didn't see slavery until 1700s, which was like, we didn't even have 400 years of slavery in Dominica. You get what I'm saying? And it's because of how the Kalinago people protected the island. It's because of the practices, the irrigation practices, and doing this film and speaking to them and hearing, because I spoke to a lot of people. I interviewed about 25 people. And I tell you, interview like 2-3 hour long,
elderly,
all kinds of people. Anybody who wanted to talk to me, I wanted to interview them, and I would have probably done more, right? And essentially, I wanted to get how the educated who leave, who get educated and leave feel. How do people who are in there who are educated feel? How do the people who are in there who are not educated feel? What are some of the things that are going through their community? What are some of the things they would wish for their community, right? And I wanted them to tell their story as is, their own authentic story. And I want to big up a lot of folks, and I suspect it's, a lot of folks have been buying my documentary because it's $4.99 online. They've been going online and they've been.
How do they get it? Very quickly. How do they get it?
So it's on blackislandgirl.com/documentaries. So that's my website, blackislandgirl.com/documentaries. And I've vowed to assist the Kalinago territory with their spelling bee. So this is my mission. I want their language to be revitalized. I want them to be able to speak. I feel we as Dominicans should know a little more Kalinago than
you learned a few of the words?
A few little words. I know we have them like
on
Mabrika, and a few little things. But
every morning on DBS Radio, there's Kalinago word of the day.
Yes,
and eventually it will
progress
to sentences and
sentences,
things like that.
Right? And I feel like we need to. We all talking about Creole, but what really Creole did for us? Creole was from the French, right? We have to really acknowledge the work and that Kalinago people or the what they've played in the development of our country. Like you think if we didn't have the types of irrigation practices that they do, you think we would have bounced back from Maria like we did? No. A lot of it we learned is from them. And not only from them, even when they planted, even before our ancestors came here, right? They knew how to preserve the soil. They knew what to do, right? So that look at Haiti. Look at the soil in Haiti. Haiti was number one in coffee in the world. In the world. Right? Look at how things are in Haiti, where agriculture is concerned, and we can still boast. Yeah, we probably don't have a vibrant agricultural sector, but we can still boast of people who plant things, and anything you plant, whether you have a green thumb or a pink thumb, anything you plant in Dominica grow in. I don't have a green thumb, and I've seen things I plant grow. So I feel like we need to pay more homage to and stop like all of these negative stereotypes, all of these nonsense, and focus on investing in their communities and doing. And it was a lovely experience. A lot of times I say, oh God, I probably have good experiences because I'm Jael Joseph, maybe because people know who I am and whatever. But I would like to think that people actually, they actually really just want to give you a nice experience.
Did some of the stories really move you?
They did. Some of them I cried. I laughed. We had some moments because I would another time for that, but we had some moments with some of the people that were in the documentary. And again, this was only supposed to be a school project. It was supposed to I could get my master's. It was for my major research project. I got a podcast out of it. I got a documentary out of it, and it won Best Short Documentary at the Caribbean Tales International Film Festival. But I really enjoyed their stories, and I really enjoyed listening to them, and I really enjoyed, hearing about them. And I want to be able to continue to do that work. Like, I really want to be able to share. That is my mission on earth, is to share people's stories, whether I get paid to do it or not, right? I will hustle another way. I think I have a knack for sharing stories, which is why I do my shows, which is why, and people are able to latch on to them. But I want to be able to continue, whether it's in audio form, in video form, or it's in live form. I want to be able to share stories.
Are you encouraged by the reviews that you received from the time you put out the documentary? What are people saying generally?
I am, but I don't put too much emphasis on it, to be quite honest, because it's not my story. It's their story,
But the fact that you brought out the story and, people are telling you, well, good work, girl, keep on going and things like that. Doesn't that, move you as well?
It does, but I feel like that is just a small part
no
of,
problem.
a small part of my contribution, I wouldn't have done it any other way, honestly. So it's like, I didn't even want to put it out there. Like, it wasn't something that, again, there was never the intention. When we were filming, I always said, if we do get an opportunity to, yes, we will. Because obviously you're thinking of being a film director. You're thinking to yourself, oh my God, you're going to, you at some point you want to be like this big film director. As a matter of fact, like one of this guy that came to, that we became friends, his film won an Oscar, and he's like, you could be there, like, and he tells me, you could be there. His film Navalny, that is after the president, Russia's opposition leader, Navalny. He did the film. His name is Ryan Didier. And he when he says, you could be on that stage too. And I believe I could be on that stage too someday. But I never process it that way. I always just I feel like we need to keep that a historic part of us. And a lot of our stories are not in video format. A lot of it is still Tim Boishesh, somebody tell you this, somebody tell you that. And you just, we don't really have books talking about or these historic people in our community. That's why I'm so passionate about it, because I'm like, when I'm dead and gone, I want people to go back and say, "Oh my God, like I did not know that happened," right? And Territory has been invited to Paris, this summer, so they want me to come to Paris, and they want me to do all of these things. There's like four different museums that want to feature it. People have reached out to me for it to run at festivals, at all of these different things.
Right. So that's what part of what I was talking about in terms of the reviews from since you let out this documentary.
But this essentially,
and look at how it has opened you to so much more.
It has.
It's going to Paris.
It has. It has. It seriously has. And I mean, I'm appreciative of it. I feel I had a good team. A team that will continue with me as long as they wish to continue with me. And that is one of the downsides of being a film director, especially because I have dual nationality, right? And as a Canadian, I have access to a lot of grants to create. But you know what the problem is? They want 90% of my crew to be Canadian. And I will not do that. So I'm losing out in one end, because I want, and I keep saying to them, y'all cannot restrict us in that way. You have to make it open and accessible so that we can use people from the, why can't we use the resources that is in the countries we're filming?
Wow.
I want to be able to have access
like
to
this. By the way, Alina
resources.
Rossi saying, thanks for putting us, the Kalinagos, in the spotlight. So that's good.
That's nothing,
No,
all Dominicans should do that.
Yeah, Nigel, no, I'm looking at the time. We haven't even gone to ask Jael about her appearance in the big stage, on the international stage. I wanna look at that as well, but I'm sure that there's something you want to bring in.
Then, the CMA, Wycliffe and the rest of them. How in a nutshell, how did that come about, and what was the experience like?
Well, I got wind of this competition. It was a competition. I got wind of this competition, and I honestly did it for kicks.
Yeah.
Right? I did it for kicks. I was like, let me just see. And Dominicans in Dominica and abroad supported me because it was a voting. It was a voting process, and people were voting every single day. Some people were paying. And I kept saying, don't pay, just give me the free vote, because honestly it was for kicks, right?
And you see what votes can do. Nigel, I don't want to interrupt you, but Nigel, I'm sure you got the story from Anne-Marie Richards, but we'll talk about that the next time. And as Jael mentioned, votes, it just came to mind.
And the great things that he's doing.
So Jael, so you received a lot of votes.
I received okay.
You weren't expecting all that.
Let me explain something to you. The person who was runner-up, my boy King Kayak from Grenada, was runner-up. On Instagram, has 8 times more followers than me. But the what is different from me, my followers, they love me and they engage. They check out every single, people were voting for me. When I tell you voting, and down to the end, people were voting, and I got so emotional because it's Dominicans. It's not, I had other friends from other places, but it's Dominicans. Is when I feel like when you see Dominicans have to come out and support their own, they come out in large numbers. And I was so grateful to them. It brought me to tears, just knowing that people had voted for me. And when at 4:30, when they announced that I had won, I was just like, I was still kind of like, is this real? Like, I almost didn't want to believe that it was going to happen. And they connected with me. They're like, what we need to do, we need to pay for you to fly out. And I was at the time in Dominica, flew me out, and Digicel came on board, and Digicel was like, we want to support you, and because I'm a brand ambassador for Digicel, so obviously Digicel is going to support their brand ambassador. And I tell you, meeting Wycliffe, first of all, he smells very good. He hugged me like as if he knew me. I was just like, bro, we're not like this. Like when you get like a hug from your grandmother, that kind of hug. Like it was like a grandmother kind of hug.
I guess he sent some energy, some connection.
I guess
he saw that
did.
personality. That girl, it's a girl you give a hug, and let's move on.
I guess he did. And it just turned out that my friend Tanisha Scott, she's the one that choreographs for like all of the main dances, like Like if you Google her. So I grew up when I lived in Toronto. Her house was on the other side of where I lived, and when she saw me, because she came there to support him, so she saw me and she ran and she hugged me. She said, because we hadn't seen in so many years. So I think too that he also felt like, oh, that must be home people. That must be, people that we supposed to know, right? And he really embraced me and stuff. And I mean, there were issues with the entire thing from a grand scheme of things. But again,
Yes.
it was the first, and I felt like Dominicans put me on there, and I needed to make sure Dominic had a voice, right? And we didn't really have any we were not being acknowledged really on the stage, and it was again short. People do things differently when it's the first, and they hope to do, and I hope to see them do things differently this year because it's happening again this year. But I felt like I needed to put Dominica on the map in terms of Dominica and small islands, and I said my piece. It was something
Sure.
that I thought of this spur of the moment, and I was like, I typed it out on my phone and I sent it to the guy that was doing the teleprompter, and he was like, boy, you sure you want to say that? I was like, yeah, that's what I want to say. and I said what I had to say, and people were happy, they were excited. Dominicans were like shouting. The Dominicans that were there, like people like Nita Scotland, big up to you, Nita. People who had there, they were screaming like you probably didn't hear. They were just so happy, that a Dominican represented, and Bella Noir did my dress, and she always does such a, like I was strictly local, like on the stage, and I was just really happy for the experience. It brought a lot of joy to me. It also brought a lot of connections, a lot of, you never know what will happen in the future.
So you continue to ail up Wyclef Jean?
Not on those
No?
levels.
Okay.
I mean, I not like
I don't mean any level, I'm just saying that it brought us a lot of connections, people you never thought that you would have met, and then the mere fact that you met, Wyclef Jean. Is it Wyclef or Wyclef?
Wyclef.
Wyclef. No, I know sometimes in Haiti, some of the Haitians would say Wyclef Jean. All right, but so I just wanted to know if you all kept that connection, And,
I mean,
yeah.
like
it
again.
was.
Everything happens for a reason,
Yeah.
a season or a lifetime. We met for
Yeah.
a specific reason,
And yeah, you
and
moved
I've
on.
moved on
Yeah,
from
moved
that
on.
from that time,
Yeah.
and on to the next.
Jael, do you find because this is a beautiful journey, and as we wind down, you've taken us from VCAS primary school, preschool,
Portsmouth,
all the
everything,
way
yeah.
to Canada and all the way to the Caribbean Music Awards and to what you currently do as a teacher at the university. So this has been a long, beautiful journey for you. Along that journey, do you find there have been times when people feel that have mistaken your confidence for arrogance?
You laugh.
That is a question. I mean, that is the obvious. In Dominica, especially Dominica, they like to press you, but I'm just like. I'm just like, yo, I can make us dollars. Like, I'm not even letting that. Like, I'm like, for your little EC, like, I'm going to, like, stress out myself. Go on, carry on. My thing is just carry on with your. I feel like because I have so much to give, if you choose to not utilize what I have to give, it's your loss. It's your loss, and it's going to be somebody else's gain. I just got back from Suriname. I'll probably go somewhere else next week. Like honestly, like I'm unfazed. I'm unbothered. I'm just like, if you want to utilize my services, if you want, like, people know, the powers that be, they know my potential. They know, right? I mean, I experience it as a brand ambassador in terms of my potential and in terms of what I do as a brand ambassador. So they know. Brand ambassador for companies. You get what I'm saying? And seeing the results and stuff. So they know. And if they want to, come with your money, though. Come with your money. But
Wow. Nigel, I'm looking at the time. We have to end.
What do you tell the little girls, Jael, as we end? What do you tell little girls who you want to see? Not necessarily be the next Jael, but little girls, what do you tell them? What's your story to them as we end?
be yourself. Be yourself. And I don't really want to tell little girls. I want to talk to their moms and their dads. You know, like, encourage your kids. Don't discourage them. You know, sometimes kids can be difficult, and you're wondering, like, why Mr. so difficult? Why Mr. so better? You know, why he not behaving? And you just have to probably dig a little deeper to see, you know, he probably doesn't want to be in the class, and he's probably bored out of his mind. You know, he probably is past that level, whereas they're thinking that he doesn't want to do his work or her work because he cannot do the work. He's probably past that level. I always say, like, pay attention to your children. I try my best to pay attention to mine, and I get emotional a lot when, you know, my kids are not reaching the milestones that they're supposed to reach. But to the little girls out there, like, just continue to be yourself. Be yourself. Love yourself. Love who you are. I have had a lot of positive people in my life, you know, some people who, you know, who've really uplifted me and really elevated me. I have folks, you know, that are really die-hard supporters of me. Like, you see them on all your timeline there, let me tell you. Page Reveil, the other day they call them Von Von. Somebody referred to my followers as Von Vons and Wasp because they almost bite off their heads. There are people that are, you know, and people love you because of you, of who you are. People are going to love you for you. I will come on live without makeup, with makeup. As I wake up,
eating your mango, eating whatever.
My mango, in my pajamas, in my bathroom.
That's you, Jael. Be yourself, as you said. That simple mantra
Be yourself.
Can go a long way. And as you said, when you grow up, your father taught you all to row your own boat, right? Something like that. And look at where you are.
Yes, row your own boat. Yeah. Just keep rowing your own boat.
But quickly, though, as we end and we have kind of run out of time, you think we should continue this Saturday program?
Your program?
Connecting the dots?
Of
Nigel
course.
and myself. You think it's a good program?
Of course. I think it's... I'm just wondering why y'all don't have sponsors. I'm just thinking about the money.
Yeah, we had sponsors.
I'm here, like, thinking about...
And they're coming on stream. They're coming.
I'm here thinking about...
But the fact that we connect, we connect with Dominic and Siad abroad.
Yes, I think it's a great program. I mean, I was honored that you guys thought that I could make the cut.
Well, we are getting messages for a food part, but that's
it, the end. That's it. No more. Follow me on Jael Joseph. Follow Jael Joseph everywhere Jael Joseph is. If you want to get more of me. Yeah. But I think this is a great show. I want to thank you guys for having me on. I want to thank Iola, because I think Iola was the one who initiated it.
She told me that since last year.
Yeah, and Iola has worked. Another thing that I do, I like to really invest back in my people. So Iola has worked as my publicist from time to time. So though I can do the work, I feel like I get her to do work for me. So she works with me, and Iola is like my ride or die. You know, she really believes in what I am doing, and she knows she can call me. And not just she, a lot of people know they can call me and I will give them advice and whatever. What I do not like is when I give people advice, or I give people like all my good deeds and all the lowdown on everything, and they just make it seem like they learned it all on their own, like, and they don't acknowledge. I don't like that.
Okay, so Iola, big up to you.
I don't like that.
Her mom may be on Jacinta Banis, so let me say good morning to you as well, Jacinta.
Yes.
But Jael, it was surely a pleasure. It was really a pleasure.
It was lovely being here with you guys.
Ted Daly would have said it's a pleasure I can hardly measure. But that was Ted. But thank you so much. We wish you success. I mean, the world is your oyster. There's so many things I know that you want to do, and your personality as well, you know, gives you that push. And the fact that your parents, your upbringing, what they taught you from a very young age, you know, and you remember that.
Yes.
And that's good. That's good. All the best, my dear.
Thank you, and all the best to you guys. Thanks again to all of your listeners, all of your viewers, everybody on the live. It was amazing. My Dominican people, you know I love Dominica. I love Dominica.
Yeah.
Words cannot express my love for Dominica.
Thank you so much. Nigel, wow, what a program today.
Thanks again, Jael, for connecting. We appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and keep sharing that every Saturday. Others can join in and
Make sure you have enough people. Bring the Northerners. All you have
bring it on.
plenty. Jean Ozo on all you
Oui,
show.
papa.
Bring some of the Northerners on, okay? Because there are a lot of people from the North doing amazing things too. So you can connect those dots too.
We will.
Yes,
We will
yes, yes,
definitely
yes.
definitely do
Yeah.
that.
But thank you so much, Jael.
Bye bye.
All the best to you.
Thank you,
We'll
same
keep
to
listening
you.
to what you're doing. We'll hear the good works.
Thank you.
All right.